Hey everyone, here we are in the workshop getting ready to fit the detailed parts to the rather lovely Great Western City Class logo from the Ambulance Train pack. Now as you can see, it's not particularly free running. One of my first tasks will be to oil the coupling rods. That usually frees things up a little bit. Far be it from me to moan at such a lovely logo, but I do not like this horrible electrical connection to the tender with 4 stiff wires, and the loco is not able to run without the tender connected like this. That must be some sort of DCC path thing. Now I don't use DCC, so I'm obviously biased, because I'm sure if you do it's very useful, but it just looks horrible, I think, all those wires. But we'll see what we can do with that. So I'll give her an oil round, fit the details, and we'll come back. Alright, chickening out on starting on the locomotive. I'm going to fit the brake rodding to the tender first. Really easy, the holes are all correctly drilled out, you just set them in between. So I'll come back after I've done that. That's the brake rodding in place. As so often happens with many of the things I get, there is a fault. At least one that I've found so far. Whoever assembled this loco put the coupling rods on upside down. See how the lubricating pots are pointing downwards instead of up? So I've just had to spend some time working out how they fit, removing the pins, and on the other side I've managed to put it in the correct way up. We had the issue with the coupling rods that were on upside down. As you can now see, I've sorted them out. The pins do pull out with a little bit of easing, and you can swap them round. This shouldn't have to be done. And the coupling rods themselves did look a little bit cruder than the ones shown on the images for the model. You know, it's advertising, but I've polished them up a little bit and they're not looking too bad. So noticed that some of the pre-assembled parts, like that step, were on crooked, but I can't straighten them up. They seem to be attached too firmly to straighten. It may well snap them. On the front, we've got the vacuum pipe and the hook. I'm not sure if the camera is really doing a good job to show you. But there, if you look in the more information box to this video, you'll see a link to an RM web forum page of mine where you can see the problems I had. Now, oddly enough, they fitted perfectly upside down, but trying to get them to fit the right way up was an absolute nightmare. It involved lots of cutting and easing, and eventual bit of super glue, which I didn't want to have to use, because if you ever do need to drop the wheel set out, you have to remove these tie bars. Now, another problem that this loco had was running abilities. It ran extremely lumpy, I mean really bad, and I noted the running in time, but I thought, well, you're not going to run that sort of problem in, so I had to take off this bottom plate. It is done by removing that screw, and that screw, and then the plate eases up. Now what I discovered was a lump of metal from the chassis, a bit of swarf or something, had stuck into the gear teeth under here, because to avoid problems with quartering, it drives on all 4 wheels and the gear chain is underneath here. Now I'll put a link up to a friend of mine's web blog which will show you the gear chain underneath should you wish to see it. I also discovered that some of the wires you see here had bunched up and were dragging on that gear tooth under there, making an horrible noise, so I straightened that out as well. Fitted it all back together, and surprise surprise, she runs nice and smooth. One other little foible: in the instructions it says that the tender distance between the loco and the tender can be adjusted by the sliding bar, which you can just about see moving here, and that screw and washer. And when you get the tender loco distance to your desired position, you tighten that screw. Well, it is absolutely impossible to tighten that screw. Not just because the wheel axle's over it, it just won't move. You can undo it, but you can't tighten it anymore. So there are one or two disappointments. It's really sad really, because it's a lovely little engine and a great train pack. Anyway, so I hope that's been useful to some of you, the few problems that I've encountered.